Well, you ever notice how the quietest person in the room is usually the one holding the knife under the table? Not waving it, not bragging about it, just resting it there, like a reminder that power doesn't need to shout. You know, that's the part people always miss. They think manipulation looks like some dramatic movie scene. Thunder cracking, cloaks swirling, everyone gasping. No, real manipulation looks like a shadow leaning against a wall, pretending it has nowhere else to be. It looks like a man who knows exactly how bright he should shine, and exactly when to dim the lights. Listen. And if you're already rolling your eyes thinking, oh, here we go, another lecture about strategy, relax. I'm not here to teach you how to manipulate anyone. So, I'm here to show you how Machiavelli saw the world, how he dissected human nature like a surgeon who didn't flinch at the blood, because he understood something you keep avoiding. People don't fear the storm. So, they fear the person who walks through the storm without blinking. And that's where the first spark hits, right? That little itch in your mind whispering, why do some people move through life like they're untouchable? You've seen them. The ones who glide through chaos like they rehearsed it. The ones who never raise their voice, but somehow everyone listens. The ones who don't need to fight because the room rearranges itself around them. Listen, and you wonder quietly, almost embarrassed to admit it, what do they know that I don't? You want to say it's charisma, or confidence, or luck. And yet, deep down you know it's something colder, sharper, something that feels like a blade wrapped in silk. And you hate that you're curious. But you are. Because you've felt the opposite. You've felt invisible, overlooked, underestimated. You've watched someone less capable get the credit. You've watched someone less intelligent get the promotion. You've watched someone less loyal get the love. And you told yourself it was unfair. Listen, Machiavelli would tilt his head at you and say, unfair or predictable? So, let's play a little game. Let's pretend you're standing in a crowded bazaar in Marrakesh, heat rising off the stones, voices clashing like cymbals, spices burning your nose. You see a merchant selling carpets. One is plain, one is exquisite. And yet, guess which one he hides behind the counter. Guess which one he only shows to the people he trusts. Guess which one he never displays in the sun, because the sun might fade it. You know, that's you. You're the carpet he leaves out in the open, letting the sun bleach you until you're ordinary. And you wonder why no one pays attention. You wonder why no one sees your value. You wonder why the master doesn't reward you. So, tell me, honestly, why would he? Why would anyone reward the person who threatens their position? Why would anyone elevate the person who makes them feel replaceable? You think you're being helpful. They think you're being dangerous. And once someone decides you're dangerous, It doesn't matter how pure your intentions were. You're done. Listen, that's the first law. Never outshine the master. Law 1. And before you groan, thinking it's some cliché, think about how many times you've broken it without even realizing. Think about the boss you corrected in front of others. Think about the friend you outperformed when they were already insecure. Think about the partner you made feel small without meaning to. You didn't do anything wrong, technically. But you forgot the one thing Machiavelli never forgot. People don't want the truth. They want the version of the truth where they still feel important. You know, you want to believe merit wins. You want to believe talent speaks for itself. You want to believe excellence is rewarded. But Machiavelli would laugh at that. Not mockingly, just knowingly, like someone who's watched the same play 1,000 times and already knows the final line. Listen, speaking of final lines, that brings us to the second law. Plan all the way to the end. Law 29. You think you do. You think you're strategic. You think you're calculating. But let's be honest for a second. You plan until the part where things get uncomfortable. You plan until the part where you might lose something. You plan until the part where you have to confront your own fear. And yet, then you improvise. Then you trust the process. Then you go with the flow. And then you wonder why everything collapses like a sandcastle in monsoon season. You ever seen a monsoon hit a beach? I have. The sand doesn't even resist. It just gives up. That's you when life applies pressure. You crumble because you never planned for the part where the storm hits. You planned for the sunshine. You planned for the applause. You planned for the version of the story where everything goes right. Machiavelli planned for the version where everything goes wrong. That's why he survived. Let me slow down for a second, because I can feel you tensing up. I can feel that little defensive voice in your head saying, "I'm not trying to manipulate anyone." Good. You shouldn't. That's not the point. The point is understanding how people behave when their ego is on the line. The point is understanding why the world reacts the way it does. The point is understanding the psychology behind the chaos, not so you can control people, but so you stop blaming yourself for their storms. Listen, I'm telling you this not as some distant narrator, but like someone sitting across from you at a dimly lit table, leaning in, lowering my voice, saying, "You're not crazy. You're not imagining it. People really do behave like this. And I'm telling you because I actually want you to stop blaming yourself for things that were never about you." That's the affection part. The part where I remind you you're not the villain in this story. You're just someone who didn't know the rules. And that brings us to the third law. Never appear too perfect. Law 46. You think perfection protects you. You think it makes you admirable. You think it makes you untouchable. But perfection is a mirror, and mirrors make people uncomfortable. When you appear too perfect, people don't see your excellence. They see their inadequacy. They see their failures. They see the version of themselves they wish they could be but aren't. And instead of being inspired, they become resentful. Quietly, subtly, like a pot of water heating on low flame. You don't notice it until it boils over. Machiavelli understood that humans don't envy weakness. They envy strength. And envy is a quiet poison. It doesn't shout. It doesn't announce itself. It just waits. And when the moment comes, it strikes. Not because you did anything wrong, but because you did everything right. There's a moment, the revelation, where the camera finally zooms out and you see the whole board. These laws aren't about manipulation. They're about survival. They're about understanding the fragile architecture of human ego. They're about recognizing that people are not rational creatures. They're emotional, reactive, territorial. And if you don't understand that, you'll keep getting blindsided by behavior that was predictable from the start. Machiavelli didn't create these laws. He observed them. He wrote them down because he was tired of watching brilliant people get destroyed by their own innocence. And if you're honest, you've been there too. And here's the part where the room gets quieter, where the smoke settles, where the camera pulls in closer. And you finally realize this isn't about tricks or schemes or some edgy how to manipulate people nonsense. This is about understanding the architecture of human behavior, so you stop walking into the same walls face first. Because once you see the patterns, you can't unsee them. Once you understand why people react the way they do, you stop taking it personally. And once you stop taking it personally, you stop bleeding for battles that were never yours. That's the shift Machiavelli wanted. Not cruelty, not deception, but clarity. The kind of clarity that feels like cold water on your face at dawn. Sharp, unforgiving, necessary. So, let's go deeper. Let's peel back the layers of these laws, not to teach you how to use them, but to show you how they've been used on you, around you, against you, without you even noticing. Because the truth is, you've lived these laws. You've felt them. You've been punished by them. You've been blindsided by them. And you've blamed yourself for things that were simply human nature, playing out on schedule. You know, take the first law again. Never outshine the master. People hear that and think it's about dimming yourself, shrinking, playing small. But that's not what Machiavelli meant. He wasn't telling you to be less. He was telling you to understand the emotional fragility of the people above you. Because the higher someone climbs, the more paranoid they become, the more they have to lose, the more they cling to their image like a drowning man clings to driftwood. And when you walk in with your brilliance, your competence, your fresh ideas, your unscarred optimism, you don't look like help. You look like a threat. You look like the younger version of them they secretly resent. You look like the person they used to be before fear calcified their ambition. And instead of celebrating you, they sabotage you. Not because you're wrong, but because you remind them of everything they're not anymore. Well, it's the same reason the old lion snarls at the young one even when the young one bows. instinct. Territory, ego. You think humans are above that? You're adorable. And the worst part? You blame yourself. You think you should have worked harder, spoken louder, proven more. But Machiavelli would shake his head at you. He'd say, you didn't fail. You just forgot the rule. Because the rule isn't about dimming your light. It's about choosing where to shine it. You don't blind the person who controls the ceiling above you. You illuminate the path beneath them so they feel taller. That's the psychology. That's the anatomy of power. Not manipulation. Awareness. Listen. Now the second law. Plan all the way to the end. This one hurts because it exposes you. It exposes the part of you that wants life to be linear, predictable, fair. The part of you that thinks good intentions guarantee good outcomes. But Machiavelli knew better. He knew that people don't fail at the beginning. They fail in the middle. They fail at the moment where the plan stops being exciting and starts being uncomfortable. They fail at the moment where doubt creeps in like fog rolling over a rice field in the early morning. Slow, silent, suffocating. And instead of pushing through, they improvise. They pivot. They panic. They abandon the plan because the plan demands endurance. And endurance is the one thing people underestimate every time. And yet, think about it. How many times have you started something with fire in your chest, only to abandon it the moment the fire turned into smoke? How many times have you made a decision without thinking about the consequences 5 steps ahead? How many times have you walked into a situation assuming it would unfold the way you imagined, only to be blindsided by the parts you didn't prepare for? Machiavelli didn't plan because he was paranoid. He planned because he understood that humans are unpredictable, and unpredictability punishes the unprepared. He planned because he knew the world doesn't reward the person who starts the race. It rewards the person who finishes it. And finishing requires foresight. It requires imagining the worst-case scenario and preparing for it without flinching. It requires the kind of mental discipline most people avoid, because it forces them to confront their own weaknesses. So, then there's the third law. Never appear too perfect. This one is the most misunderstood because people think perfection is the goal. They think if they're flawless, they'll be loved, admired, protected. But perfection is a mirror, and mirrors make people uncomfortable. When you appear too perfect, people don't see your excellence. They see their inadequacy. They see their failures. They see the version of themselves they wish they could be, but aren't. And instead of being inspired, they become resentful, quietly, subtly, like a pot of water heating on low flame. You don't notice it until it boils over. Machiavelli understood that perfection isolates you. It makes you untouchable in the worst way. It makes people root for your downfall because your existence threatens their self-image. And humans will always protect their self-image, even if it means destroying someone who never harmed them. Well, that's the smooth transition. The moment where these laws stop feeling like rules and start feeling like reflections. Reflections of your life, your experiences, your disappointments, your confusion. Because these laws aren't abstract. They're everywhere. They're in your workplace, your friendships, your relationships, your family. They're woven into the fabric of human behavior like threads in a Persian rug, intricate, ancient, impossible to untangle. And once you see them, you start recognizing the patterns you missed, the warnings you ignored, the dynamics you misread. Not because you were naive, but because no one ever taught you the psychology behind the chaos. Listen, so let's go deeper. Let's take each law and dissect it like Machiavelli would, not to teach you how to use it, but to show you how it's been shaping your life from the shadows. And now we step into the modern world, where these laws aren't dusty relics from some Florentine palace, but everyday landmines disguised as normal human behavior. You want examples? Fine. Let's start with the workplace, because nothing exposes human ego faster than fluorescent lighting and mediocre coffee. That's where the masks slip. That's where the laws come alive. Picture this. You're in a meeting. You've done the work. You've solved the problem. You've practically carried the entire project on your back like a Himalayan Sherpa hauling a tourist who thought sneakers were appropriate for Everest. And then your manager strolls in, repeats your idea with slightly worse grammar, and suddenly everyone's nodding like bobbleheads on a dashboard. You open your mouth to say, "Actually, and boom, you've broken Law 1. Never outshine the master. You corrected them publicly. You made them look like they weren't the smartest person in the room. And now you're wondering why your performance review suddenly reads like a passive-aggressive breakup letter. It's not because you're incompetent. It's because you forgot that people don't want the truth. They want the truth that flatters them. So, take social media, the global arena of insecurity. You post a picture where you look good, not cute, not decent, I mean good. The kind of good that makes people zoom in and question their life choices. And suddenly your comments go silent. Your friends who normally spam heart emojis vanish like ghosts. Someone drops a "must be nice" comment, which is basically envy wearing a polite hat. You didn't do anything wrong. You just accidentally violated Law 46. Never appear too perfect. You appeared too perfect, too polished, too put together. And instead of celebrating you, people start rooting for your downfall like you're a character in a telenovela. Humans don't envy weakness. They envy strength. And envy is the most patient assassin in the room. And since we're here, let's talk about Law 46 properly. The one people break with the enthusiasm of a toddler smashing a birthday cake. You'd think this one would be obvious in the age of curated feeds and filtered faces. But no. People still walk around thinking perfection makes them admired. No. Perfection makes you a target. Perfection makes people squint at you like you're a glitch in their simulation. Perfection makes them think, "Who do you think you are?" And they won't say it out loud, of course. They'll just quietly root for your downfall like it's a Netflix series. You post one picture where you look suspiciously good, and suddenly your friends go silent like you just announced you're running for president. You get one passive-aggressive, "wow" comment, which is basically envy wearing lip gloss. You didn't break etiquette. You broke Law 46. You appeared too perfect, and perfection is a mirror, and mirrors make people see their flaws, and people hate their flaws. So they hate you for reflecting them. And trust me, most people would rather fight a bear than face their own reflection. And yet, it gets worse in relationships. You ever notice how someone loves your ambition until your ambition starts outperforming theirs? Suddenly you're too focused, too busy, too intense. Translation: you're too perfect, and their ego is having an allergic reaction. You didn't betray them. You just accidentally reminded them of everything they're not doing. That's Law 46 in its purest form. Perfection triggering insecurity like a tripwire. Well, friendships? Oh, this is where Law 46 thrives. Your friends cheer for you until your success becomes inconvenient for their self-esteem. They loved you when you were struggling because it made them feel wise. They loved you when you were lost because it made them feel useful. But the moment you start winning, suddenly they're busy. Suddenly they're concerned. Suddenly they're not sure you're being humble. Humble? Please. That's code for stop making me feel like a background character in my own life. Listen. Machiavelli understood this centuries before Instagram filters existed. He knew that perfection isolates you. It doesn't elevate you. It paints a target on your back. Because humans don't envy weakness. They envy strength. And envy is the quietest, most patient assassin in the room. It doesn't roar. It waits. And when the moment comes, it strikes. Not because you did anything wrong, but because you did everything right. And now let's drag Law 29, plan all the way to the end, into the modern world. Because this one exposes people faster than a power outage exposes who never charged their phone. You ever watch someone start a business with the enthusiasm of a kid opening birthday presents, only to quit the moment things get hard? They didn't plan for the end. They planned for the highlight reel. They planned for the Instagram version of success. They planned for the applause, not the silence. Machiavelli would have rolled his eyes so hard he'd see his own brain, because he knew that the middle, the messy, boring, painful middle, is where most people collapse. Not because they're weak, but because they never imagined the middle would be the battlefield. They thought the battle was at the beginning. Cute. You know, here's the part where I get personal with you, because you're not just some random viewer scrolling through content at 2 a.m. You're someone who's been burned by these laws without even knowing they existed. You've been punished for shining, punished for planning, punished for being too good. And you blamed yourself. You thought you were the problem. But you weren't. You were just playing chess in a world where everyone else was playing emotional checkers. Listen, I'm telling you this because I actually want you to stop carrying guilt that doesn't belong to you. You're not the villain. You're not the manipulator. You're not the one pulling strings. You're just someone who didn't know the rules of the game you were already in. So, now we hit the final stretch, the revelation, the part where the camera zooms out and you finally see the entire battlefield. These laws aren't about being cunning or ruthless or cold. They're about understanding the fragile architecture of human ego. They're about recognizing that people are not logical creatures. They're emotional, reactive, territorial. They protect their pride the way a dragon protects gold, irrationally, aggressively, and without apology. And if you don't understand that, you'll keep getting blindsided by behavior that was predictable from the start. Listen. Here's your closing rant. Breathless, sharp, and honest. Stop pretending the world is kinder than it is. Stop assuming people will reward you for being brilliant. Stop expecting fairness from systems built on insecurity. Stop walking into rooms thinking your talent will speak for itself. It won't. People will speak for it, and they will twist it, shrink it, or weaponize it depending on how it makes them feel. Machiavelli didn't write these laws to turn you into a villain. He wrote them so you'd stop being a casualty. So you'd stop being surprised when human nature behaves exactly like human nature. So you'd stop blaming yourself for dynamics that were never about you. Because here's the truth. The world doesn't reward the loud. It rewards the strategic. It rewards the aware. It rewards the person who understands the game well enough to stop taking every move personally. And if you can do that, if you can see the patterns without becoming bitter, if you can understand the laws without abusing them, if you can navigate the chaos without losing yourself, then you're already ahead of most people. Not because you're manipulative, but because you're finally awake. Take care.